Home Studio Start podcast.
Tired of your home studio sounding, well, hollow? Maybe a bit like you're recording in a tin can.
Yeah, that reverb just washing everything out.
Exactly. Do your vocals kind of get lost in all those echoes? You are definitely not alone, and here's a little secret. You don't always need to, break the bank on fancy acoustic panels to make a really big difference. Welcome to the Home Studio Start podcast. We're all about diving deep into practical knowledge you can actually use to elevate your sound. Home recording made easy, right? That's the goal.
That's the motto.
Today, we're really digging into an article from Home Studio Start by Rodrigo Marquez. It's called Beyond Decoration, Using Curtains and Rugs for Effective Sound Absorption.
Great topic.
Yeah. Our mission today, to unpack how these, everyday items, curtains, rugs, can seriously improve your sound quality. Think clearer recordings, more accurate mixes.
Absolutely. We'll explore the science, which is actually pretty fascinating behind how these simple things work.
Yeah.
We'll talk about choosing the right kinds, because not all are created equal.
Right, that's key.
And crucially, how to place them smartly. Optimizing where they go to get you closer to that professional sounding space.
Okay, let's unpack this first bit then. Why do our rooms sound so messy sometimes?
Yeah.
Especially, bare walls, hard floors. It's those sound waves just bouncing all over.
Precisely. That's the core problem. Sound waves hit hard, flat surfaces, your drywall, your window, your wood floor, and bam, they reflect right back.
Creating echoes.
Creating echoes, reverb, flutter echo.
Yeah.
Just this uncontrolled wash of sound, but soft, porous stuff like fabric and thick curtains or plush rugs, they do something different.
They absorb it.
They absorb it. The sound waves actually go into the fibers. They get trapped, vibrate microscopically, and that acoustic energy gets converted into a tiny, tiny amount of heat.
Wow, okay. So it's literally changing the energy form.
It is. And that process reduces the reflections bouncing around the room. So the room sounds tighter, less love, more controlled.
That's a really cool way to think about it. Not just decoration, but energy converters.
Exactly. Now, it's important to know what they can and can't do well.
Okay. Limitations.
Right. Curtains and rugs are best at soaking up mid to high frequencies.
So like vocal clarity, snare crack, cymbal shimmer.
Exactly. The stuff that makes a room sound harsh or ringy often lives in those frequencies, but the really low-end stuff, like deep bass frequencies,
Yeah.
they mostly pass right through. The wavelengths are just too long. They need much bigger, denser things like proper bass traps to really be affected.
Okay, so throwing my duvet in the corner won't magically fix my boomy bass problem. Got it.
Afraid not. But tackling those mids and highs is still super important.
Why is that?
Because that's where things like flutter echo live, that annoying ping-pong sound between parallel walls.
Ugh, yeah. Heard that before.
Right. Getting those mids and highs under control makes a huge difference for clarity, whether you're recording vocals or trying to mix accurately.
Makes sense. The article mentions an example, Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah's story is great. Her first vocal booth attempt, hardwood floor, bare wall opposite. Her recording sounded distant, echoey.
So what did she do? Just simple stuff.
Super simple. She put down a thick, shaggy rug and hung heavy velour curtains on that bare wall.
And the result?
Instantly better. The room felt drier, acoustically speaking. Her vocals sounded much clearer, more present, more direct. It was a huge improvement using just basic household items.
That's really encouraging. So the first practical takeaway seems to be think dense and thick.
Absolutely. For curtains, you're looking for heavy materials. Blackout curtains are often good because they have that density. Even moving blankets can work in a pinch.
Moving blankets are
Yeah.
good.
And for rugs, thicker is better. Plush, high pile, not those thin, flat things.
Right.
And placement matters.
Yeah.
Put that thick rug on the hard floor. Put those heavy curtains over the big reflective surfaces like windows or large blank walls. That's your starting point.
Okay, good baseline. So we get the why and the basic idea of density. Let's zoom in on curtains. Picking the right ones seems like it's more than just color matching.
Oh, absolutely. It's a strategic acoustic move. You need curtains made from fabric that's dense, yes, but also porous. It needs to let the sound in to absorb it, not just bounce it off.
So what kind of fabrics are we talking about?
Think velvet, velour, really thick microfiber, things with texture, a substantial weave. They're better at trapping those sound waves.
And what should we avoid? Like those thin, breezy curtains.
Exactly. Thin cotton, sheer polyester.
Yeah.
They might look nice, but acoustically, pretty useless. They just don't have the mass or the right structure.
Okay. You mentioned thickness and density again. With curtains, does layering help? Like Is a double-layer curtain way better than a single?
Yes, definitely. A single thin layer won't do much at all. Multiple layers add mass. Even better is a curtain with a built-in lining, especially those thermal or blackout linings.
Because they're designed to be dense already.
Precisely. They add significant weight and surface area, making the curtain a much better absorber, especially for those mids and highs we keep talking about. More material, more absorption. Simple as that.
And how you hang them matters too, right? Not just flat against the wall.
Good point. Hanging them with folds or pleats is actually better. It increases the effective surface area exposed to the sound waves.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it helps scatter the sound a bit too, not just absorb it straight on. So pleats are your friend here.
Gotcha. There was another example, Mark, with the big window problem.
Right. Mark's live room had this huge window, major source of slapback echo. He first tried some cheap, thin curtains.
Let me guess, didn't work.
Almost useless, apparently. Did next to nothing.
So what was the fix?
He swapped them for heavy, triple-layer blackout curtains. And crucially, they covered the entire window frame, even overlapped onto the wall a bit.
And the difference was?
Night and day, according to the article. The room instantly sounded less ringy, much more controlled. Perfect for tracking his acoustic guitar without all that extra reverb.
Wow. Okay, so summing up for curtains. Heavy, dense fabrics. Velvet, velour, thick microfiber. Look for layers or thick linings like blackout. Make sure they're wide enough to cover the whole area, plus some overlap. And floor to ceiling if you can swing it.
That's the ideal, yeah. Maximize that surface area.
Right, curtains covered. Let's slide over to the floor. Hard floors, wood, tile, laminate, you said the reflection machines?
Total reflection machines. Sound hits them, bounces straight back up, causes flutter echo between floor and ceiling, makes the room sound really live, often in a bad way, uncontrolled.
So rugs are the answer there.
They're a huge part of the answer for floor treatment, yeah. Just like curtains work on walls, rugs work on floors. They break up that big, flat, reflective surface. The fibers trap sound energy. It just calms everything down, leads to a more balanced sound.
Okay, so choosing a rug. Again, it's not just about looks. What are the key things acoustically?
Number 1, thickness and density. Just like curtains. Forget thin, flat weave rugs or those plastic office chair mats. They do basically nothing for sound.
So we need fluffy.
You need substantial. Think shag rugs, thick wool rugs, heavy Berber carpets. You want a decent pile height.
Why? More fiber to trap the sound.
Exactly. Longer, denser fibers mean more surface area for the sound waves to interact with and get absorbed. Especially effective, again, for those mid to high frequencies.
Material matter much. Wool versus synthetic.
Natural fibers like wool are generally excellent absorbers, but honestly, a really thick, dense synthetic rug can also work very well. Thickness and density trump material type, generally speaking.
And placement.
Yeah.
Just as crucial as with curtains, I imagine.
Absolutely critical. You can have the best rug in the world, but if it's in the wrong spot.
It won't do much good. So where's the most important spot?
The number 1 spot is usually right between your speakers, your monitors, and where you sit, your listening position.
The sweet spot.
Sort of the anti-sweet spot for reflections. It's where the sound bounces off the floor and heads straight for your ears. Covering that first reflection point on the floor is huge.
Okay. And for recording, like vocals or drums?
Same idea. Cover a good chunk of the floor in that recording area. Don't just use a tiny little welcome mat under the mic stand. Think bigger. Cover those main reflection points between the sound source and the mic.
Right. Leo's example in the article sounds relevant here. Mixing room, nice hardwood floors. But harsh mixes.
Yeah, classic problem. Beautiful room, acoustically challenging. The floor reflections were adding harshness, making it hard for him to judge the high end accurately.
His fix was just a rug.
A specific rug in a specific place. He got a large, thick shag rug and put it right in that critical zone between his speakers and his chair, covering that first reflection area plus a bit more.
And the result for his mixes?
Much smoother high end. He could suddenly hear details more clearly, make better mixed decisions. It just calmed down those problematic floor reflections.
Another testament to simple solutions. Okay, practical tips for rugs. Prioritize thick, high-pile ones, shag, wool, dense synthetics. Make sure it's big enough for the job, covering that main floor reflection zone. And place it strategically, right between your sound source and your ears or mic.
You got it. That's the essence.
Okay, so we've got our gear, potentially some nice thick curtains, a plush rug. Awesome. But, like you said, just throwing them in the room isn't peak strategy. This is where placement optimization comes in, right? Getting maximum bang for your buck.
Precisely. It's about being smart. The core idea is stopping problematic reflections before they mess up your sound, intercepting them.
So targeting these primary reflection points.
Exactly. Those first places sound bounces off a surface on its way to your ears or microphone. For curtains, yeah, windows are obvious, glass is super reflective. But don't forget bare walls, especially big ones facing each other, those parallel walls. They are prime candidates for flutter echo. Hanging heavy curtains on one of those walls can make a massive difference.
Okay, so not just windows, but problem walls too. And for rugs, you already hammered home the spot between monitors and listener.
Absolutely. That is the critical spot for floor treatment with a rug. That first reflection point on the floor, the article uses a laser beam analogy, which I like. Think of a laser shooting from your speaker, bouncing off the floor and hitting your ear where it hits the floor. That's where the rug needs to be.
That's a great visual. Okay. And how do we actually find these spots accurately, especially on the walls? Is there a trick?
There is, and it's super simple, low tech. The mirror trick.
The mirror trick. Okay, explain.
You sit in your main listening position, get a friend, or do it yourself if you can manage to slide a small mirror flat along the side wall between you and the speaker.
Okay.
When you can see the reflection of the speaker's tweeter, specifically in that mirror, boom, that's a primary reflection point on that wall.
Because the sound path is reflecting just like the light path.
Exactly the same angle. It's a really effective way to pinpoint exactly where treatment, like a curtain or acoustic panel, would be most effective on your side walls.
Can use it for the ceiling too?
You can, yeah. The principle is the same. But, like we mentioned, rugs and curtains aren't usually the best tools for ceiling treatment. That often needs dedicated panels, but finding the wall points is perfect for curtains.
Got it. Dave's example sounds like it pulls this all together. Small mixing room, parallel walls, concrete floor. Already had a rug, but still had echo issues.
Right. The rug helped the floor, but the wall reflections were still causing problems. So what did they do?
Mirror trick.
Mirror trick. They found those first reflection points on the side walls, and instead of fancy panels, they hung heavy moving blankets acting like thick curtains right on those spots.
Clever. Moving blankets again.
Yep. Resourceful. And combined with the rug he already had, the effect was dramatic. The room tightened up, got much more controlled, and his mixes immediately felt more accurate because he wasn't hearing all that extra room sound.
That really shows how targeting the right spots is key, not just adding random absorption.
It's absolutely crucial. Strategic placement is everything.
Okay, let's nail down the ultimate practical tips for placement then.
Yeah.
1. Use the mirror trick. Find those first reflection points on your side walls. 2. Put your thickest, best rug right on the floor between your speaker source and your listening recording spot. Cover that first reflection zone there.
Essential.
And R3, hang heavy curtains, not just on windows, but also consider those bare, parallel walls to fight flutter echo. More coverage on big, flat surfaces is generally better.
That really sums up the optimization strategy.
Awesome. So we've really unpacked a lot here. How using dense, thick materials like specific curtains and rugs and really thinking about where you put them, targeting those first reflection points, can seriously improve your room sound.
It's not about spending a fortune necessarily. It's about understanding the principles and applying them smartly with what you might even already have or can get relatively affordably.
Right. It really takes the mystery out of it a bit.
Yeah, and hopefully it raises an important point for you listening. You really can take control of this. You have the knowledge now to make your space sound better, feel better to work in. It's empowering.
Totally. So the call to action is clear. Don't just listen to us talk about it, actually try it. See what happens if you hang up that heavy blanket or move that thick rug. Experiment. Ditch the crazy echo, aim for clarity, start playing around with curtains and rugs today. Unlock your room's potential.
Absolutely. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it, given how effective these simple everyday items can be when you repurpose them, what other overlooked things around the house might have secret acoustic superpowers we haven't even thought of yet?
That's a great question to chew on. Food for thought.
Definitely.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive on the Home Studio Start podcast.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you next time.